The candle flame dances in darkness, casting shadows that whisper secrets across the wall. A single flame illuminates the entire room. So too is the soul, a light that never truly extinguishes, even when our eyes can no longer perceive its glow. In that space between sleeping and waking, there exists a threshold where the veil between worlds grows thin. It is in this twilight that many have felt the gentle brush of presence, the subtle weight of a hand that isn't physically there. What if they're still listening? What if conversations never truly end, but simply change form? The silence that follows loss often feels like an abyss, bottomless and consuming. Yet within that very silence may lie the continuation of the most profound dialogue you've ever known. The ancient wisdom keepers spoke of thresholds and passages, of doorways that close in our physical world while opening to realms beyond ordinary perception. Edgar Cayce described the soul's journey not as an ending, but as a transition into greater awareness. The body may cease, but consciousness expands into something more vast and luminous than we can comprehend through our limited senses. You sit with photographs, with memories crystallized in time. You touch objects they once touched. You breathe in spaces where their laughter once echoed. The emptiness feels tangible, doesn't it? Like something you could almost hold in your hands. This grief has weight. It is real because your love is real. Your tears are witnessed. Your longing is honored. The invisible thread that connects you remains unbroken, stretching across dimensions we can only begin to understand. Remember the dream where you walked through an unfamiliar house, opening doors to rooms you didn't know existed. The soul's journey may be something like this, discovering new chambers of being, exploring expanded possibilities of existence. Perhaps they are learning how to reach back across that threshold, to whisper into your dreams, to send ripples through the fabric of your days. This was hidden until now. The language of souls is rarely spoken in words. It rustles through leaves on a windless day. It appears in the perfect feather on your path. It glimmers in coincidences too precise to be accidents. The universe becomes their pen, writing messages in the poetry of everyday miracles that we so often miss in our hurried lives. You wonder if you're imagining things when their favorite song plays at exactly the moment you needed comfort. You question your senses when you catch their scent in an empty room. Maybe there are no words, but there are signs. The language of eternity speaks through symbols, through the quiet knowing in your heart that transcends rational explanation. Your grief carves rivers through the landscape of your being. These waters run deep. They reshape everything they touch. Yet water also nourishes, creates passages to places previously unreachable. The very pain that threatens to drown you can become the current that carries you toward deeper understanding. You are not alone in this journey. Your sorrow is seen by eyes beyond the physical. In the teachings revealed through Edgar Cayce's consciousness, we learn of the waiting place. That interval between lives where the soul pauses, reflects, and prepares. It is not a static realm, but a school of spirit, a mirror world where souls begin to comprehend what physical life could not reveal. Imagine a vast library of light where each experience becomes a living book. Here, souls revisit not just their actions, but the ripples those actions created. They feel what others felt. They see beyond intention to impact. It is not punishment, but illumination, the dawn of understanding that the physical world could not provide. What happens to the soul on the 9th day after transition? Cayce spoke of a gradual awakening, a gentle unfurling of awareness. By this time, most souls have begun to acclimate to their new state. The shock of separation has softened. The initial confusion has given way to the first glimmers of expanded perception. The soul begins to recognize itself as more than the body it once inhabited, more than the roles it played. They say they still walk beside you, even if you can't see them. The bonds of love create bridges between dimensions. Cayce described how souls who have transitioned often remain close to loved ones, especially in times of need. They haven't abandoned you. They are simply experiencing reality through a different lens now. one that sees beyond physical limitation, one that perceives the luminous threads connecting all consciousness. Have you felt that inexplicable presence in an empty room? That whisper of comfort when no one was there? These are not imaginings. They are the subtle touch of love that transcends physical boundaries. Think of a child learning to write. At first, the letters are clumsy. So too are the first attempts of souls reaching back across the veil. They are learning a new language of energy. Their earliest messages may be subtle, a dream, a feeling, a seemingly random coincidence that resonates too deeply to be chance. Some souls linger longer in the earthly realm before fully transitioning to what Cayce called the cities of light. These are not physical places but states of consciousness, landscapes formed by collective spiritual awareness. Some move quickly to these realms, while others remain closer to the physical world, drawn by unfinished business or the desire to guide those they love. Consider the soul as a traveler navigating by an inner compass that always points toward growth. For some, that growth requires swift return through reincarnation. For others, extended reflection serves their evolution better. Each journey is as unique as the soul itself. If you received a letter from beyond the physical world, what might it say? Perhaps something like this: My dearest one, time doesn't exist here as you know it. What feels like endless separation to you is but a moment in the greater rhythm of our connection. I wish you could see what I now understand, how our souls have danced together across ages, how the love we share transcends this temporary parting. I see your tears. I feel your longing. Sometimes I try to reach you through dreams, through memories that surface unexpectedly, through that strange certainty you occasionally feel that I am near. Trust those moments. They are not wishful thinking. They are bridges between worlds. I am learning here, growing, healing. I see now the full tapestry of my life, the threads of joy and sorrow, the patterns formed by choices made and unmade. I understand now what was hidden from me then, the pain I carried, the fears that limited me, the love I sometimes failed to express. Please know that nothing is lost, not a single moment of tenderness, not one act of kindness, not even the words we left unspoken, for here, intention shines as brightly as action. I am still me, only more so, more aware, more whole. And you are still the soul I recognize, still the light I am drawn to across all distance. Until we meet again in that place where separation is revealed as the illusion it always was. With love that has no ending, always yours. The silent judgment Cayce spoke of is not the harsh tribunal many fear. It is the soul's reunion with its own truth. Imagine standing before a mirror that reflects not just your form, but the entirety of your being. Every thought, every emotion, every impact you had on others. This mirror shows not to condemn, but to illuminate. In this state of clear seeing, the soul becomes both witness and experienced. It feels what others felt in response to its actions. This is not punishment, but the natural consequence of expanded awareness, the lifting of the veils that limited perception during earthly life. Consider the butterfly emerging from its chrysalis. Does it judge its time as a caterpillar as failure? No. It recognizes that crawling was necessary before flying became possible. So too does the soul view its earthly struggles, not as shortcomings, but as steps in an unfolding process of becoming. Your loved ones who have crossed the threshold are engaged in this spiritual review and expansion. They are not suffering. They are awakening to greater understanding, greater awareness of the intricate web of connection that binds all souls together. The geography of the afterlife that Cayce described is not of physical locations, but of vibrational states. Souls naturally gravitate toward realms that match their level of spiritual development. The cities of light are communities of like-minded souls engaged in continued growth. The regions of shadow are not punishments, but opportunities for healing unresolved aspects of the self. Think of water finding its own level. A soul no more needs to be judged than water needs to be told to flow downhill. Each consciousness naturally resonates with environments that reflect its own inner state. This understanding transforms our concept of heaven and hell, from places of reward and punishment to states of being that the soul creates through its own development. Heaven becomes the natural expression of consciousness aligned with love, compassion, and unity. Some souls choose to return quickly to physical life, while others remain in spiritual realms for what we would perceive as centuries. Cayce explained that this timing depends on many factors: the soul's purpose, its need for healing, the availability of appropriate circumstances for its next physical expression. Like a farmer who knows when to plant and when to let fields lie fallow, the soul, guided by higher wisdom, understands when growth is best served by incarnation and when it requires the expansive awareness of spiritual existence. Your grief creates a beacon that souls in transition can perceive. Your love forms a bridge they can cross. Your memories create a sanctuary where connection continues. This is why many experience the presence of loved ones most strongly when actively remembering them. In those moments, you are creating a meeting place between worlds. The fabric between life and afterlife is thinner than we imagine. Dreams become messengers. Meditation opens doorways. Even in waking life, moments of quiet awareness can become windows through which glimpses of greater reality shine. For those who feel the ache of separation most keenly, consider this. What if the distance between you and your loved one is not the vast chasm it appears to be? What if they stand just beyond the limitations of physical perception, as close as your next breath, witnessing your life with compassion and love? The soul's journey after physical death is not an ending, but a continuation. The love shared does not diminish, but expands beyond the limitations that physical existence once imposed. The connection between souls does not break, but transforms into something more enduring than its previous expression. Edgar Cayce's readings describe death not as extinguishing the flame of being, but as removing the glass that contained it, allowing it to join the greater light while maintaining its unique essence. Nothing of value is lost. Nothing meaningful is forgotten. The accounting of the soul is not for punishment, but for growth, the natural expansion of awareness that comes when artificial boundaries fall away. In moments of profound grief, we often feel as though we stand at the edge of an abyss. Yet what if that apparent void is actually fullness beyond our capacity to perceive? What if the silence that follows loss is not absence, but presence so vast that our limited senses cannot yet comprehend it? Your grief is sacred. It is the shadow cast by love when light seems to have departed. It deserves honor. Yet know this: while you navigate the landscape of loss, your beloved navigates expansion. While you experience their absence, they experience a new form of presence. The asymmetry of these experiences creates the illusion of separation when, in truth, connection continues in ways beyond physical understanding. Consider how a caterpillar might perceive the chrysalis. From the outside, it appears still, lifeless. Yet within, profound transformation occurs. The emergence of an entirely new expression of the same being. Death may be our chrysalis, not an ending, but a metamorphosis. When we light a candle for those who have passed, we create more than a symbol. We establish a beacon between worlds. Light itself becomes a meeting place, a shared language that transcends the boundary between physical and non-physical existence. The flame speaks to both worlds, and in its gentle glow, communion becomes possible. The ancients understood this. They created rituals that honored the continued bond between the living and those who had crossed the threshold. They recognized that relationship doesn't end with physical death, but transforms into something new that requires new forms of expression. Your loved one is learning these new languages. The signs they send may seem subtle. A particular bird that appears at significant moments, a familiar scent that has no physical source, a dream so vivid it feels more like visitation than imagination. These are not coincidences. They are the soul's attempt to reach across dimensions, to remind you that love persists beyond the physical vessel that once contained it. They say they still walk beside you, even if you can't see them. This is not poetic metaphor, but literal truth viewed from the perspective of consciousness rather than physical form. Your loved ones haven't gone to some distant realm. They have simply shifted their perception, expanded their awareness beyond the limitations of physical senses. In this expanded state, they perceive the entirety of their life pattern, the purpose behind challenges that once seemed senseless, the growth that emerged from struggles that once seemed merely painful, the love that persisted even when hidden by fear. This perception brings peace, not the passive peace of escape, but the active peace of comprehension, of seeing the order within what once seemed chaos, the purpose within what once felt random. Your loved one carries this peace now. They understand what was hidden from them during physical life. They comprehend the soul contract they made before birth, the lessons they came to learn, the growth they came to experience, the love they came to express through their unique journey. This understanding doesn't eliminate their connection to you. It deepens it. They see now not just the physical expression of your relationship, but its spiritual roots, the soul agreement that brought you together, the lessons you agreed to teach each other, the love that drew you into each other's orbit. From their perspective, separation is revealed as illusion, a temporary experience created by the limitations of physical perception. They recognize now that souls connected by love are never truly apart, but exist in a state of continuous relationship that physical death cannot sever. In the quiet moments, in that space between thoughts where the mind grows still, you might sense this truth. You might feel their presence not as memory, but as current reality. A gentle reminder that what appears as ending is actually transformation. Let yourself be open to these moments of connection. They require no special ability, only willingness to perceive beyond the boundaries of ordinary awareness. In grief's deepest valleys, look for the unexpected coincidence, the dream that feels like visitation. These are the thin places where worlds touch, where love continues its conversation across the threshold. Your tears are precious. Each one honors the love you share. Yet know this, from where your beloved now stands, those tears are not final farewells, but temporary expressions of a separation that exists only from earthly perspective. From spiritual perspective, the connection remains unbroken. The conversation continues, the relationship evolves. In time, your grief will transform, not diminish, not disappear, but alchemize into a new form of relationship, one that honors both the physical absence and the spiritual presence, one that creates space for continued connection across the threshold between worlds. Trust the wisdom of your heart. It knows what the mind often questions. It recognizes connection that transcends physical evidence. It senses presence beyond tangible proof. In your deepest knowing lives this truth: love does not end. It merely changes form, flowing like water around the obstacle of physical separation, finding new channels when old pathways close. You and your beloved remain connected by bonds that death cannot sever. This is not poetic metaphor, but literal truth, visible from the perspective of soul, even when hidden from physical perception. Rest in this knowing. Let it hold you. Let it guide you through the sacred territory of grief toward the discovery of continued relationship across the threshold. The candle burns low now, its flame steady in the darkness. Like the soul's journey, it transforms but does not end, changing from visible light to invisible warmth, from present flame to eternal memory. In this gentle transition lies the promise of all spiritual wisdom. Nothing of value is ever truly lost, only transformed. Your bond remains unbroken across the veil between worlds.